All right, everybody. While I make faces at myself here, making sure that we have gone live with this TigerNet broadcast. This is David Hood with TigerNet.com, and we just wanted to kind of come to you tonight, do a quick video, maybe a Q&A if people have questions about the end of fall camp. Yes, today was the first day of school. Campus was bustling. It was busy. I enjoyed seeing all the students back on campus. Bowman Field, as busy as I've seen it since pre-COVID days. It's great to have everybody back. It seems like campus is actually alive right now. Again, just like pre-COVID days, everybody was out walking, riding scooters, riding bikes, going to class. A lot of great pictures that we've seen today. School board still being worked on. I kind of go by every day just to get my fix and take a look at it, see what's going on. But for right now, we're going to talk about the end of camp. So the Tigers did not practice today. They will get back at it here tomorrow, just kind of get back, get their feet under and start preparing for Georgia Tech. They've actually been preparing for Georgia Tech for a few days, but Tuesday's practice, which ended up Tuesday evening about 6:30 or so, that kind of marked the official end of fall camp. Now the Tigers are going to prepare for Georgia Tech. We know that's a kickoff Labor Day night in the Mercedes-Benz Dome Stadium down in Atlanta, going against the Yellow Jackets, ACC opener, season opener. Tight game last year in Death Valley. Georgia Tech came in, played Clemson really close. If you've seen my story after the ACC kickoff, one of the Georgia Tech cornerbacks has already predicted a Jacket victory. But for Clemson, there's a lot of questions going into the season. But I think we learned some things coming out of fall camp. I think that there's some things that we can say we know, some things that maybe we think, some things maybe we don't know yet. We're actually running a story in the morning. Brandon Rink, Nikki, my wife, we're all chipping in on it to kind of say, hey, this is what we know about the offensive position groups. And we can start at quarterback. DJ Uiagalelei has been the guy all camp. The times that I've been able to watch, I think he's looked, accurate. He looks like he's moving well on the run. We've heard great things. Defensive players raving about him. The receivers are saying they detect a new confidence in him. He's going to have to be better than last year. It wasn't good. He'll tell you it wasn't good. The coaches will tell you it wasn't good. But they'll also tell you it wasn't all his fault. Listen, I saw somebody post on our board the other day, well, the Georgia loss is all on DJ. Yeah, if you think that, you don't know football. I had a front row seat for watching what that Georgia defensive line did to Clemson's offensive line, and the fact that DJ really didn't have a lot of time to throw or make decisions. The one interception, well, that was a wrong route run by the receiver. He didn't completely finish it. So, everybody goes, well, DJ's fault. No, the offensive line didn't play well. His receivers didn't help him. In some ways, I don't think the play calling helped him at all. And it shook his confidence. I think that, and it was a year-long thing. The offensive line wasn't good. Maybe until that Wake Forest game. I talked to Walker Parks about that the other day, saying, looked like Wake Forest was when you guys finally had a rotation figured out. You figured out this is what we want to do. Offensively, we want to run the football. We know we have receivers hurt. DJ's lacking a little confidence right now. So the offensive line came on. They started playing better. So that's kind of where we stand right now. DJ's the guy. I also, I talked to an ACC football analyst today. I had to call him up for something, and he was able to watch the last Clemson scrimmage, something the local media is not allowed to do. And he said, hey, you know what? I really liked what I saw out of DJ, but I like what I see out of Kade Klubnik too. The kid's just a baller. So let's talk a little bit about Kade. And then if you have any questions, please feel free to throw them in and I'll answer them. We're going to kind of be limited on time here. I've got kids that are in bed, but I don't want to wake them up. And so I'm talking a little bit quiet here. Hopefully you can hear me. But Kade Klubnik, every practice that I've been to, and I've been there at the end of most of them, you always see the guys that are out there getting extra work. I've always found it interesting that, it's kind of those walk-on wide receivers. It's the walk-on running backs. It's the walk-on tight ends. It's the walk-on offensive linemen. Same thing on defense, who are kind of out there getting that extra work in. But Kade Klubnik has been the one constant at quarterback. DJ's been out there a lot. Hunter Helms has been out there a lot. Billy Wiles was out there yesterday. I've seen Hunter Johnson out there a lot. But Kade Klubnik is the one constant. He's, kind of the football version of a gym rat. He's always wanting to do something. In fact, after one of the practices, maybe a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, it's funny, he was in the indoor practice facility, and he was running routes for Adam Randall. Adam Randall was playing quarterback with the brace on his knee, not really taking any chances, but throwing to Kade Klubnik in the end zone. I thought these two kids just love to play the game. They love to play football. And I think Cade's going to be a winner. The question is, how long is that leash going to be? If Clemson, kind of comes out and does what we think they're going to do against Georgia Tech, DJ will be fine. Then they've got two, you don't want to say layup games, that Furman game, quick turnaround, and then you go into La Tech. But if Clemson struggles early, I don't think there's any doubt that they would put Cade in to kind of give him a shot. He threw interceptions in both scrimmages, both of them decisions he would probably like to have back. Sometimes he, decides to run when maybe he shouldn't run. He needs to learn how to just throw it out of bounds on third down and live to fight another day, just punt it away. A punt much better than a turnover and interception just because of what it means momentum-wise. So a lot of stuff we can watch there. Running back's kind of a three-headed monster with Will Shipley, Phil Maffa, Kobe Pace, Keith Adams Jr. coming on, but there's a couple of walk-on guys, Dominique Thomas, I think, who got a scholarship. These guys can play too, and I think they're going to be in the rotation at some point, maybe a backup, special teams. So we'll see how it goes. And, of course, with the wide receivers, it just kind of comes down to, can they stay healthy? Can they stay on the field? E.J. Williams, Bo Collins have already missed substantial portions of camp. Torres Delato's out for the year. The good news, Joseph Ngata, he's been healthy. He's looking pretty good. Dakari Collins has looked great. Brandon Spector, talked to him last night. He's healthy. He's feeling good. So I think there's good news. They're going to get Bo Collins back. EJ's been back at practice. So good news on the receiver front. We'll just have to see how they do against Georgia Tech. Glenn Musgrove said, I expect Dabo to run the ball a lot against Georgia Tech. How do you see our O-line and running backs? Well, just talked about the running backs. I think that's going to be a three-headed rotation there. I think Will Shipley's going to be put out wide at times. He's going to be in the backfield with Pace or Maffa. Maffa's going to be in the backfield with Pace or Shipley. They're going to keep kind of doing what they did last year. And the offensive line, that's really where we've seen the most improvement this spring. In fact, the very first practice, somebody said I didn't know a lot about football because I talked about how the offensive line looked. Well, you're an idiot. Sorry, can't help it. That if you're out there just for stretching, you have to just kind of say, how does the offensive line look? And they looked bigger, more athletic than we've seen in a while. That's a point of emphasis for a new offensive line coach, Thomas Austin, to go out and recruit these bigger-bodied kids. I had an offensive line coach tell me one time, you don't want to have to build them. You kind of want them already built. You like the big ass. You like the big legs on these kids already. You don't want somebody with skinny legs. For a long time, that's kind of what Clemson went out and got. They went out and got kids that, played center, played guard in high school at 250 pounds and said, maybe by year 3, we're going to get them ready to play. And maybe by then they'll be 290, 295. Saw it for the longest time. And most of them just, quite frankly, didn't seem to really work out. But now you're seeing kids come in 320, 315 pounds. Dietrich Pennington weighed in at 355 or 60 the other day. Bigger bodies, more athletic kids. I think this offensive line is going to be just fine. And, of course, the big news out of camp is that freshman, tackle Blake Miller, if the season were to start today, he'd run out there at right tackle a la Mitch Hyatt at left tackle, from a few years ago, and would get the start. That moves Walker Parks back inside to right guard. Walker is kind of, to me, more of a natural guard. I think that's where he would play at the next level. So Blake Miller, he's going to run out there at right tackle. The rest of the offensive line, kind of what we saw at the end of last year. Jordan McFadden left tackle. You're going to have Marcus Tate left guard. Will Putnam at center. And then you're going to have Parks and Miller. But Tristan Lee's coming on. Ryan Linthicum's coming on. Mason Trotter can play. Ryan Howard can play. Mitchell Mays, he's going to be in there. Brian Tucker, he's going to be in the mix. Pennington. So offensive line, probably the one group that I'm most excited about. Kurt Scholl, what game do you think Randall will be ready to play for? He looks great. He was running routes the other day on air. And Dabo said, I can't wait to get him back. It's really, to me, it's just too early to call. I think everybody would say, well, you kind of, he's not going to play for Georgia Tech, then you're not going to want him to play against Furman. You're not going to want him to play against La Tech. Maybe you don't want him to play up on the turf at Wake Forest in week 4. Maybe you want it to be a home game, maybe be an NC State. You're looking toward the end of September, 1st of October, maybe somewhere in there. It'd be a nice surprise if he could be back by NC State. Jason Rayfield, how's our punter looking now? So I had a conversation with Mike Reed last Friday. It sounds like if the games were today that it would be Aiden Swanson, who's the left-footed veteran. He's got a little different kicking style. Times that we've watched, I've thought that Aiden has probably looked the best. Remember, it's also, a competition in there with Jack Smith, who's a freshman who booms at one punt and then he's inconsistent the next one. He told us he was probably a little bit overwhelmed in the spring by everything. BT Potter's been also doing that, but BT Potter, he's looking at an NFL career. He wants to prove he can punt as well, but you don't want his leg to get tired. And he was saying the other day, I have to limit how many swings I can take into the net, during a game if I think I'm going to be punting. So I think right now, if the season were to start today, it looks like it might be Aiden Swanson that would run out there. I think he, probably has looked the best. Trey Miller saw where XT was out of cast moving good already. Yeah, he's a quick healer. I think he has attacked this rehab. I still think we're probably talking Wake Forest, NC State for him too. You don't want to, again, get him out there. He had the broken toe, 5th metatarsal, I think, which is the pinky. There was something going on there. I think it's called a Jones fracture with XT. So you don't want to get him out there in the heat against Furman or La Tech. You're not going to get him out there on the turf, against Georgia Tech. That's way too early. But yes, so you're looking game 4, game 5, get him out there at some point. And, right now, the good news is that with his injury, if there is good news out of it, is that Cade Denhoff, a kid that was in the 2021 recruiting class that you haven't heard a lot out of so far because he redshirted last year, hasn't been really a part of any rotation. Him, Greg Williams, Kevin Swint, those guys are all coming on. So I think you're kind of looking at that first game and you're going, okay, Georgia Tech, who runs out there first? Well, probably KJ, probably Miles Murphy, Justin Maskell is going to be in that mix. And then, Denhoff, Swint, Williams, till you can get some of these kids in there and kind of get them bloodied up a little bit. Those will be the guys. Chocolate Thunder, I like that name. Do you think this is Bentley's year, or will Trotter beat him out? I haven't heard much about Bentley, but I hear Trotter's name a lot. So different positions. Levanta Bentley's been really mostly at the mic, and I think it's been him and Keith McGuire that are battling there. Trotter has been at that kind of Sam spot from what we're understanding, which is that, nickel Sam, kind of that outside linebacker. And then you've had Trenton Simpson over at the will or the weak side linebacker spot. So Levanta Bentley, Keith McGuire, I think you can kind of pick it. Who's going to be the starter there? Trotter's going to be on the outside. Barrett Carter's going to have his say out there with Jeremiah Trotter too. But, the great thing about West Goodwin's defense and what we're seeing, what we're hearing is that, Trotter can play that nickel Sam spot. He can move to the other linebacker spots. Barrett Carter can play the nickel Sam spot. He could probably move inside if he needed to, but he can also play the dime. He can play the nickel. Andrew Makuba can play safety, but he can come up. He can play the nickel. He can play the Sam if he needs to. Malcolm Green can play the nickel. He can play the dime. He could probably move over to Sam if he wanted to. So they've got all these guys who have all this versatility. And then on the back end, you've got Jalen Phillips, another safety who's a veteran. And I asked Wes Goodwin about him the other day. I said, I keep hearing from the other defensive players how great he was in the spring, how great he's been in camp. Is this a guy that we're kind of overlooking? And he said, absolutely. Jalen Phillips has really come on and, is turning himself into an NFL player. Even the other day, we had a great conversation with Tyler Venables, who's a safety, and he credited Jalen with being kind of the leader there in the back end. He's the older guy. Andrew Makuba's a great player, but, he was saying, that Jalen has kind of taken on that mantle of leadership. So A lot of moving spots in there. I think you're going to see Bentley and McGuire both play a whole lot there in the middle. And then another name to remember, Wade Woodaz, freshman. Like you're like, okay, so the freshmen and linebackers are deep, but he's really coming on, and looks like he's been getting some second team reps. So, there's another name to remember. The freshman, I watched him on special teams. He was, running in the alley on special teams. Dabo was loving it. He's down there. He's laying the wood to people. So this is a really good linebacker group. And then another thing, that was one of the things in talking to the ACC analyst today. He said if there was one question that he had about the defense going into this year, I didn't. He said it would have been the linebackers, just because Clemson had to replace a Balin Spector and a James Skalski. Those are two guys that played a whole lot of football. He said, but after watching the scrimmage, he said, I don't have any questions anymore. He said they're probably better at linebacker by a good bit because they're more athletic and they're faster. So, good things that we're hearing out of the defense. Brett Taylor, do you expect to see less RPO, more play action passing this year? To be determined. I know that Kyle Richardson and Brandon Streeter are both going to kind of put their stamp on this offense. I think we're going to see less wide receiver screens. That's probably a good thing. They both talked about there's a lot of dead weight in the offense. We're going to kind of call that out, bring out what we're doing. A lot of that RPO stuff may depend on DJ. He's moving better, but how much better is he moving? How confident are they with him? How good is the running game going to where the play action will actually work? That's one of the things I'm excited to see. We, again, haven't been able to see a scrimmage. So I want to see against Georgia Tech. I want to see what this offense looks like. I want to see what the play calling actually looks like. It was kind of interesting to watch practice the other day, and I was watching Richardson with his tight ends. And one of the things that they're trying to teach them is to make that either pre-snap or post-snap read on what the defender's doing, and you might change your route based off of that. So in other words, you may have a seam route called for a tight end, but you see that the linebacker or the safety's dropping back in coverage. So you cut that route off and you do a comeback, or, you see that somebody's pressing on you, so then you cut it outside, or maybe you go deep. So Richardson was kind of, playing the part of trying to disguise what he was doing. One play he'd be up, one play he'd be like he was coming on a blitz. He'd shade inside, he'd shade outside, make the quarterback, make the tight end, each kind of decide, here's what we're doing based off of the look that we're seeing. And, they're still trying to keep it simple, but maybe a little bit more post-snap looks. And then in talking to the tight ends, I ran a story this morning about that. They all say, we've heard it for years, tight end's going to be more involved, but they love what Richardson is doing, and there's some more concepts that they're going to use. And Jake Brenning told me last night, he said the tight ends are going to be a huge part of this offense, and I hope to see it. I thought it was funny, Kyle Richardson told us at the beginning of fall camp, the tight ends were on the play, on the field all the time last year, but they didn't get a lot of passes thrown their way. Davis Allen, 28 receptions, really the leader. Then after that, nobody else in double-digit receptions. So tight end hasn't been that big of a deal, really since the days of Jordan Leggett. Before that, Dwayne Allen, Brandon Ford all had 40, reception seasons. Jordan Leggett had, back-to-back years where he had 40 and then 46. Nothing since. The most is Davis Allen's 28 last year. So kind of excited to see what happens with the tight ends too. Shane Whited, who has no lack of questions about fantasy college football, including which third-string long snapper might get a snap to get me 1 point in an October game. True question. I don't know why he had asked me that. Do you see less blitzes this year with Wes? I think probably. Brent was known for dialing up, the blitzes at any particular time. And I think Wes, with the speed of this defense, just a gut feeling, you're probably going to see less of the whole taking a chance thing because your linebackers are faster, because your linebackers can cover, because they're more athletic. Nothing against Balin Spector, who's doing great with the Bills. Nothing against James Skalski, who's doing great with the Colts. But now there's true, legitimate cover speed back there, and you don't have to kind of cover that up anymore. And these guys can just play almost a base defense. But that doesn't mean Wes ain't going to blitz. Wes going to blitz. As he likes to say, no risk it, no biscuit. And Shane, you can text me later. We'll talk about the four-string punter and where he might get a point at some point in December, we'll figure it out. I don't know. I appreciate that, Austin. It's good to hear from you. I kind of wondered if I would see you this morning over at the preschool, but then realized that you guys weren't going to be there, so I kind of missed you. And I've had a lot of fun doing this. I always have fun doing this. I think we need to do more of it. Austin, make sure you tell your wife hello for all of us, and that Eli misses everyone. But I have fun with these. Look forward to doing it. Maybe we'll do it again, maybe the first of next week, maybe at some point this weekend, and we'll just get a lot of questions answered.